Hello, welcome to the Meeple Mentor YouTube channel. I'm Jared, and with me is Holly. Today we are doing a review of Viticulture's expansion, Bordeaux. Thin box for the expansion, so you absolutely need to have the base game of Viticulture, and you can use the Tuscany expansion with this. And it is, yeah, fully modular with it. The main thing that you get from this expansion is a new game board with a few new spaces and rules that upgrade your ability to do certain actions. And the back of the board is essentially a newer version of the original base game board as well. So you could toss, if you wanted to, the original base game board. A couple small changes that are put into this game add up to, I think, a pretty good, unique, better experience than your typical base game of Viticulture. And I do think that the small changes throughout the board and the starting resources that you start with do improve your experience with the Tuscany expansion. Well, Holly and I got a chance to play this, and we're excited to talk about it today. A few of the main changes, as I mentioned. Everyone's going to start with the one income resource instead of starting at zero and waiting until you can really make a sale to start making your money at the end of every year. A lot of the changes in this, I will say, are designed to help speed up the game and give you more viability for producing wine. So, for example, you're going to start with grapes, you're going to start with a wine, you're going to start with income, you're going to start with some extra cash, and that's on top of all the regular starting things that you get. Now, instead, though, you're only going to have access to one field, so you will have to purchase the other fields if you're going to continue to expand your vineyards.
That didn't really feel like a detriment, though. So
No, it doesn't, because again, you do have so much extra cash, and you cannot now sell your fields. You can only buy new ones. Then there are, let's see, different wake-up positions that offer new changes to the gameplay. And if you're familiar with Tuscany, as you exit winter, you're going to be able to pick first your wake-up position between 2 through 7. And then if you chose 7, then you have to take the first spot. One of the big changes here from Tuscany is now when that first player goes into the summer, every player gets $1. When they go into fall, every player gets to age a grape. And then when they go into the winter, everybody gets to age a wine. So as you're incentivized to, of course, take that 7th spot for that extra free worker that comes to you, now you're also giving every other player a little bit more of an advantage on that next follow-up turn. There's also a couple changes like the grapes deck and the wine orders deck, the purple cards. Now you're going to be able to either draw off the deck for random cards, or there's always going to be 2 face-up cards available to be able to help plan and maximize what you can do. Because I think one of the complaints you could say about Viticulture was you just have to keep drawing cards until you get something that's relatively close to what you're already producing. This is a small change that does make a big difference, because now you have 2 cards options on both of those stacks that you can face up look at, and then if those don't work, then you're drawing blind. But I think that's a small but big impact to the gameplay. Any thoughts on how that worked out for you with the 2 face-up cards, or the first player causing everyone to get some extra stuff throughout the year?
I was appreciative that the first player shared their wealth.
Yeah. One other change real quick on the income track is now as you move your income from 2 to 3, 4 to 5, and 6 to 7, you do get an immediate extra victory point. So again, new ways to just continue to climb that victory point track, which, as you know, is one of the way to trigger the end of the game. So there's more ways to earn points throughout. There's faster ways to sell stuff because you do start with grapes and wine. And you get the benefit of being able to choose some cards. But those are all the minor changes. Some of the biggest changes I'm going to talk about next. One is during the spring, you're going to get a new worker action space called Hire an Expert. So along with this, every player color is going to get a set of cubes. And these cubes are your experts. So when you take this action, you're going to pay $2, and place one of your expert cubes on any action space that is empty from their expert locations. So now every location has a extra benefit if you have an expert at that location. So whenever you take that action with a worker, you get the benefit of your expert being there as well. And that is really what makes this board stand out more than the base game, more than, or in addition to what Tuscany offers. You're adding that extra your spot here to enhance all your moves. I really enjoyed these enhanced actions. For example, in the spring, when you're drawing your grape cards, if you've got an expert there, you can pay money to just gain grapes. So, and it's X. So you spend whatever money, you get that many or that level of grape.
One thing I would say is to be mindful of where you place it. You are limited in your experts and you cannot move them.
Right. You do only have a couple. I believe everyone gets 4. So throughout the game, you can only ever place these 4 experts. If you place it on the expert space, then whenever you do hire another expert, because that's that action, you'll get one of the exposed bonuses, as you are familiar with seeing on any of the action spaces. I believe even if you're playing with a less player count for those available spots. You've got giving a tour, which just gives you an extra dollar per worker that's at that tour space. So it's just a faster way to get more money because it's a common space, but now you're going to get even more money if you've got your expert there. And then I want to talk about the trade action. So the trade action has been upgraded, or I guess it's changed a little bit. So now you have an actual grid. It's like a 4x6 grid. And so it shows you on the left what you pay and at the top what you gain. And instead of being able to make any trade you want in terms of what's normally listed on the board, now you can only make trades that are still available, and they're marked once they're used. So you just place one of the beads that represents grapes and wine. You place those on the trade grid, and now it blocks off anyone else from being able to take that exchange. So you could exchange like 2 cards to get 3 money or a point or a grape or a wine token.
Or 2 other cards.
Or 2 other cards. Just trade 2 cards for 2 cards. You can trade 3 money for income. You know, just increase your income directly without actually making a sale. That can be very useful. You can spend a point to do all of this. You can spend a grape and convert it to this stuff. So these are things that you can gain. 2 cards, 3 money, 1 point, grape, wine, and income. All of these, like I said, though, maybe some are better than others, but when someone takes it, that is then blocked for the rest of the game. So your benefit, if you have an expert here, is before you take the action, you get to remove one of those trade tokens to then make it open for you to take again. I think that's a really good use of that, and I do think that the trades are now not as overpowered, perhaps, as what it could be. When you get into the summer, you have your summer visitors. So on the play summer visitors, if you've played only one visitor and you have an expert there, you can take both options on that visitor card, because a lot of them, as you are aware, have take this and or take this other ability. If you have an expert there, this says you can do both when you're playing one card at this action. You've got the buyer harvest. Again, you can't sell your fields anymore, but now you're just going to gain an income whenever you go there if you got an expert. The building of structures and the planting of cards. These are similar in that based on how many that you have, you're going to get points immediately. So like building a structure, if you have 4 to 6, you get a point. If you have 7 or more, you get 2 points. With planting, you do get to ignore one prerequisite whenever you're planting a card now, if you've got that expert. And then between how many grape cards that you have already, between 4 and 6, you get a point, and 7 or more, you get 2 points. So throwing all kinds of new ways to earn points. I remember, I think I got that one when we were playing, and it really helped a lot. You had the structures one.
Yes.
How did you like that one?
I very much enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
I found, though, that as quickly as I was building structures, it didn't really score as much as I would have hoped.
Okay.
And because this allows you to do it for less, so
Mhm.
I was able to do it quicker, you know.
Sure, sure.
And I found that I just didn't place an expert in time. What really, really was my saving grace was over here in the winter with
Hmm.
the fill contract.
Yeah.
There's one you can place your expert to have an extra space just for you
Hmm.
to fill a contract, and you get an income. So that was extremely helpful.
Yeah. I think that was a really good spot. Some of my favorites were taking the expert for the visitors. Both the summer and winter visitors were the same expert advantage, to where if you're playing one visitor card on that action, you get both of the abilities that might say or.
I found though that it seems that these were the winter visitors were a little more mischievous. Mischievous is a good word for
I do think if you like that
that.
kind of mischievous gameplay, then you do
Hmm.
want to focus more on getting your expert onto that one, because you can do a lot more damage. Now, I will say the game doesn't come with any new cards for any of these decks, so you can, you can use the base game, you can use Tuscany, you can even use the orange structure cards from the Tuscany expansion if you're using those boards as well. But there's not a place for them on the board. You would just have a separate draw deck. And so anytime that you can gain a structure or build a structure, would be the same thing. You'd play or build from one of those orange buildings.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's
Just these
see.
are great.
You want to talk about the other ones that are in front of you?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
This was another favorite of mine, but this was actually my example for the cautionary tale. So on the train option, you can place your worker in the spring or summer now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an expert there and you go there to train for $1 less, as it were, in a two-player game, um, you can train your individual and then immediately place them and take the action. And then if you have an expert on that action, it adds a nice little
Yeah.
chain reaction. I like a good chain
Yeah.
reaction.
It's definitely maximizes the ability of being able to use the guy that you just trained
Definitely.
that same year, including in previous seasons.
Where I would normally, because you know that I like to have a lot of workers, so where I would normally have taken slot number 7 more often,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually need to because I had an expert here
Yeah.
that let me take some extra actions. It's very nice.
Yep. So those were definitely some of our favorite expert positions.
Right.
Um,
This one, I know you were pretty fond of this one as well.
mhm.
Yeah, I'll let you.
When you make wine, right, and you combine grapes, if you combine this ability, I should say, as an expert, lets you combine the same color, and then gives you a point if you do it. So if you end up with like a lot of smaller value white grapes, for example, you could add them together to get one stronger white grape, and this also gives you a point for doing so. Normally, the game doesn't let you do that to combine them for a stronger value, and so that can be a very useful expert ability if you're going strong after the wine order fulfillments, strategy. I will say a lot of these, like I said, are just heavily focused to help people actually produce and sell wine faster. So it takes away some of the other strategies' viability in terms of, I've seen people play viticulture with and they've won without actually making or selling wine. And I think that's kind of crazy when you think
Really?
about it. Yeah, it is
Wow.
possible to have alternate strategies using the visitor cards or just some of these spaces here in the trades to just get a lot of points, not actually making wine. And
Wow.
it seems wild, but it is possible. And that's where I think this game board really revitalizes the game itself to be more focused on making wine and encourage everyone to get a head start on doing so. So you don't have to decide which way you're going to go in any given game. You've already got a head start, so every card that you pull is more useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so those are some of the main changes. If you're familiar with Tuscany, like I said, the wake up thing and like how you age your stuff at the end of the round, discard down to 7, like all that's kind of the same. And again, like the board fits very well in the viticulture box. We have the viticulture wine crate, and so it fits very nicely with there. You don't even have to throw out that old board, but you could. Like I said, and it folds up into an even smaller, footprint in terms of the outside of edge of it than the original board, but it is bigger. So it's a nicely done overhaul of the game's mechanics. Now I do want to add one last thing, which I remember was there was some additional scoring that can happen at the end of the game. And if I can pull it back out, I could read you to what those extra scoring bits were. Yeah, at the end of the final year, you get to convert all your wine and grapes to money, and so the wine becomes, whatever its value is, and the grape for its sale price. And then at the end of the game, every $10 that you have becomes a point. And I don't think that was part of the original game. So now all the extra stuff and things that are in progress that you were working on ends up, becoming more useful because it's still going to convert to something, even if it's a 10-to-1 point. I really enjoyed this expansion. It's not too much to add, and I think it's a good way to kind of keep the game focused on the winemaking and to potentially make your game a lot faster to play. So if you like viticulture, but also don't want it to last as long as it possibly can, which it normally can go pretty long for a Euro game, this might be a good way to get it to the table more often because you have these starting things and some of the other mechanisms here with the experts and even just the face-up cards to make gameplay go faster, smoother, and more wine focused. I think it's really done a good job accomplishing some of those goals. I had a good time with it.
I really enjoyed
any opinions
it.
on yours? Yeah.
I really like the addition of the expert spots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a good time.
Cool.
As usual. I didn't notice that it cut the game time down, but it has been a while since we played Viticulture. So.
I can tell you it definitely did because I've played this a lot more, the base game a lot more than you have. But yeah, I will say that the game did help quite a bit in taking some time off the gameplay. But yeah, I think it's a great expansion. If you get a chance to pick it up, I recommend it. If you're a Viticulture fan, absolutely pick it up. If you just have the base game and you're like, which expansion do I get first? It depends on which kind of content you want. If you want faster, streamlined gameplay with more wine focus, then Bordeaux is a great first expansion. If, however, you find that the base game of Viticulture is not as interesting or you wish there was more content in general, like just more to it, I would recommend Tuscany because it's a very full expansion that to me is one of those must-haves. Bordeaux is, I don't know if I would call it a must-have, but it is a very good expansion. So I think if you don't have the Tuscany and you're considering something that just a little faster gameplay, then this is good. But if you like the heavier gameplay or you want more content, Tuscany to me is like a must-have. And that's kind of how I perceive both of these. But if you love Viticulture, probably just pick them both up because they're both really nice. So that's our thoughts on Viticulture's expansion Bordeaux. I appreciate you guys checking out our thoughts, our review of the game. Make sure to subscribe and like the video and comment and all that kind of stuff. And stick around for our next videos, which of course we do reviews, we have tutorials, all sorts of fun stuff, unboxings. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
Cool.
It was a good time.
It was a good time. We had fun with it. I think you guys will too. So until the next time, I've been Jared.
I'm Holly.
Bye.